Well, hello, and welcome. We are excited to have you all here, and I am yours truly, Honorable Valencia Stovall, and you are joining us on the new WCEG Network. Today is Monday, the first Monday in May, and you're listening to the new WCEG Network with the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, where we speak life into the community. WCEGTalkRadio.com. You can click the live stream tab and you will be able to watch us live on Smart TV, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. WCEG Network, and you can subscribe free to our YouTube channel. Yes, we're on YouTube. WCEG Network, like us or follow us on the new platforms. And we also have an app in the App Store. And also, when you're going to your Android mobile device, it's WCEG Talk Radio for the mobile device for Android, and WCEG Network TV for your Apple device. And we're just so excited about today. And I must give you this disclaimer, because the topics and opinions are those of the show host, which is myself, and guests, and not of WCEG Network. We thank you for your continued support, and tell a friend, and just get ready for an outstanding type of conversation for today. All right, so today I know y'all are so sad because it's going to be the season finale for Issues and Answers. And we're gonna, and as always, I like to recap from a previous show that I had, and that previous show is we talked with none other than Dr. Deidre Poindexter. Everybody know Dr. Poindexter. If you don't, of course, if you're in Clayton County, even the Metro Atlanta area, you know Dr. Poindexter, aka Dr. P. And she's with Change for Hope, and also she serves as Clayton County's Soil and Water Conservation District Supervisor. So she chatted with us last time, educating us on the importance of soil and water, and even in the development that's going on across Georgia and how that's important. And of course, she talked to us about the impact she's making with the youth and young adults and helping them to become responsible. So if you have a youth or a young adult who wants to be exposed while having fun, you can check out changeforhope.org. Now, even though this is not the last show, I had to get corrected, y'all. Sorry, I got so excited. May the 15th will be the last show, and actually we will be kind of doing something a little bit different, because that will be the first day of the celebration for the third annual Yoruba celebration. So you all will get a chance to see us live. We'll be doing hopefully live streaming from there, so you all can be able to see everything that we'll be doing for those 2 days, the 15th and the 16th. But what better way to end, not even necessarily end the season, I say this, the day before the show before the end of the season, let's say that, then by educating and connecting with you, our audience, about heritage, genealogy, and culture of one of the largest tribes in Africa. And when we say that, you may say, well, what? There are a lot of tribes in Africa. Yeah, there are over 3,000 tribes in Africa. But I'll be specifically talking about this show about the Yoruba tribe, and more specifically, the ancient kingdom of the Owu. So get your popcorn, get ready to journey with me to the land of my ancestors on the continent of Africa. So when you talk about the Yoruba tribe, why, Valencia, why the Yoruba tribe? Why not the others? Well, it's by association that I was drawn into wanting to know more about the Yoruba tribe. In 2013, I met Emmanuel, who is now High Chief of the Oboye, High Chief and the Oboye of Papalanto, Iwekoro, Ogun State, Nigeria, Africa. I know that's a lot, y'all, and I've been practicing. I practice all the time. But also, he shared a lot of information about his tribe and about Africa that I never knew about. We didn't learn it in the history books, and some of the stuff I learned in the history book found out that it was distorted. So I got a chance. I was blessed to be able to get an opportunity to actually hear from a real African from the Yoruba tribe, who can explain to me and answer all the thousands of questions I had over the years. And also, being an African American, we don't know much about the African tribes, except for, like I said, what we see on TV, what we may have read. So me being a history buff, I love history. I was just fascinated and enjoyed the opportunity to be able to speak more and learn more about the tribe, those mysteries, the tradition, the religion, all of those types of things. I wonder what makes the Africans so proud and confident when they speak. If you met any African, and everybody can attest to this, when you can talk about everything else, when you start talking about their tribe, their history, they all of a sudden you hear this boldness in their voice when they talk about their history and about their tribe and where they're from. And so it's not so much as that they're so proud. Yes, they're proud, they're confident when they speak about their culture. And I came to find out that they know their history very well. And so it's no doubt when they're talking about their history, and it's not just people I met from the Yoruba tribe, but I met from Igbo, some of the other tribes, that they're very confident. They're very confident. And it's because their history was passed down from early childhood by their parents and the elders that were actually in their villages. And with that, so it wasn't that they just all of a sudden learned that. No, it was a part of their upbringing. Just like many of us African American, our grandparents and parents have taught us certain values and morals that we carry on. Many of us could say, oh yeah, I remember my grandmother used to say this. Or I remember my grandfather said this. I remember going with my grandfather here, my grandmother here. For me, I spent a lot of time in church with my grandparents on my mother's side. So, many times all of us as cousins, and even on my dad's side, we think about the whole time we went to our grandparents' house. So during those times, that was bonding time. We didn't realize that was bonding time, but it's similar to what happens over in on the continent of Africa when it comes down to making sure that the youth understand their tradition and understand it very well, so that when they are confronted and people are challenging them about their history, they don't have to be afraid, or they don't have to say, well, I don't know, I think this is what it is. No, they know confidently what it is about their culture, what about their tribe, what makes their culture tribe unique. And when they come here to America, many of them are amazed at African Americans about us not knowing our history. And I tell them a lot of times, we know what happened with slavery once here in America, because we are living witnesses of descendants of slavery. What we don't know a lot of times is what happened before the slaves were transported and brought and stolen and brought here to America and to the Caribbean areas. So my conversation today is telling you a little bit about the Yoruba tribe, the Obu Kingdom, and then tell you a little bit about an upcoming event that's going to take place here in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. And we're just excited, and you're welcome to come. It's open to the public. It's no charge, because we believe that being able to join together with our African brothers and sisters is what's going to help strengthen us as African Americans here, and to bring much pride and self-awareness that's needed in our communities that we've been lacking for a long time. So let's get into the history. The Yoruba culture and heritage and African culture generally is an in-depth institution. That's what Chief Emmanuel tells me all the time. It's an institution. It's an institution. It has so many facets and layers. One would never be able to grasp it all in a lifetime. So I know I'm not going to grasp everything, but I'm excited and willing to just be able to take in as much as I possibly can to be able to learn and understand. So the missing piece with African Americans, in my opinion, and remember, those things that are said on this show, Issues and Answers, are the opinions of me, not WCEG Talk Radio. But we've had a lack of our culture and traditions being passed down from generation to generation. We're often considered the lost people. That's quote unquote. Many of you will agree that all the immigrants who willingly, y'all heard me say willingly, that means they came on their own, they weren't stolen or brought over here, who came to America are able to trace their culture and heritage back over hundreds of years. And you can consistently see them displaying their cultures and traditions unapologetically in their businesses. Sometimes you go in business, they have their statues up, they have other pictures and everything about their own culture. And you see it displayed in their homes, even if you pass by their homes or wherever they may go, they are proudly displaying their culture and heritage. Well, we can't do that as African men. We try, we say, hey, black power, black pride, but we don't have anything else to link us back to our tradition and our heritage. So in very rare cases, you find African-American families that are able, because their ancestors and forefathers held on to historical data, documents, but that's not majority of us. And so we then have to go and lean on the census, which was taken every 10 years to be able to identify who our ancestors are. And, hopefully we know who our grandparents are and our grandparents' parents. And you do all this in-depth research and research. We're trying it, but many times, even with the census, it's not as accurate as we need it to be. For instance, they might not have all the names spelled correctly. Remember that they would ask the blacks, "What's your child's name?" And they would tell them, but many times the blacks didn't know how to spell the name. So the white people who collected the census information will put down what they thought the spelling of the name was. Age, they might not know what the child, they might sometimes were guessing the ages of the children. Even the gender, sometimes we have different hairstyles, just like now. Sometimes you might find boys with cornrows, hair braided. Somebody who don't know the culture might think, oh, that's a little girl. Or, or have the girls might have a short haircut. Oh, that's a little boy. So all of that is not 100% information from the census. And other documents, they're historical documents. So you search. So, there are times my sisters and nieces and I have spent several hours at the Georgia Archives, and we're fortunate in Clayton County. And in Georgia, we do have the National Archives and the Georgia Archives down in Clayton County in Morrow, where you can go in there and search for free. It's no charge, you all. And you could be able to help backtrack, your ancestors. We were able to track some information from the Stovall and the Cater family of the history. And it's really a full-time job. Now you think about it, you working every day, you're just trying to survive. Most people don't have time to go and do that research and genealogy. So now we have another option, which we took as a Stovall family, of the ancestry and the African ancestry. So I had done the ancestry.com and found out that my people came from the Benin, Togo area, Cameroon, Nigeria area. And then, but I wanted to know more. So we did African ancestry, one, where we did the matriclan, which is the mother's lineage, and then we did the patriclan, which is the father's lineage. And so even with the father lineage, we took my dad and had him, because he has both chromosomes, we had to do the mother one and the father one. So on the mother's side, which is the Dawson side of my family, which is my grandmother's maiden name, it came back Sierra Leone, the Mende tribe. And so, and then on my dad's side, his dad, all the way up, was the Yoruba tribe in Western Nigeria. Now, what a surprise to me. And I've told this story before, even when I had the show, we talked about the African reveal party that our family did, that I had been working and helping with the Yoruba tribe for 3 years before I even knew that my ancestral lineage linked back bloodline to the Yoruba tribe. Wow. So that's a whole story by itself. I'm still in the wild phase of that news that came out. But even with that, you know, so much was happening, of course, during slavery. We know that many children were taken from the mothers. So when you take the children from the mothers, there's no way that mother can transfer that information about history and about the culture to those children, because they've been taken during slavery and moved to a whole nother plantation, a whole nother state. And of course, it was done deliberately so that the African culture could not survive. And it was also done so that uprising wouldn't happen. Because, you know, when a group of people get together and we all speak the same language, we all understand that we shouldn't be here in the first place, then we're going to fight to make sure that we're able to go back to where we were stolen from, or where our ancestors were stolen from Africa. So it's a lot of things that were done intentionally that now, when you look at 400 years plus later, it has had a negative impact on us as African Americans here in America. So but there were certain tribes that were able to keep their culture alive, even through the transatlantic slave passage. We call it the Middle Passage. Sometimes you hear Middle Passage, transatlantic slave. That means they came across the Atlantic Ocean, which is the ocean, a body of water that is along the coast of Africa, and the same coast bodies of waters along the coast of North America and South America, and going down even to the Caribbean areas. So that's why it's called transatlantic. I know y'all already knew that, but I just thought I'd throw that in. Okay, so, you know, I get so emotional when I think about the effects of slavery and watch and listen to historic facts and a lot of myths that have happened. So the Yoruba tribe was one such tribe whose people held tightly to their culture, even when they arrived in the Americas and the Caribbean. You know, I told you all that my father's side is a linkage to the Yoruba tribe. And their particular tribe, even when they were taken to Brazil, and I'm going to tell you a little about some of the areas that tribe now exists in, but even taken to Brazil, South Africa, they still, to this day, exemplify the unique culture and tradition as if they were still in West Nigeria. It's amazing. You look at them, their language, as far as they're speaking Spanish, but they still speak the Yoruba language. And so it's amazing how, coming from one part of the continent going to another continent, and after all these years of slavery, they still were able to maintain it. They even most recently was designated, one of the states over there have even designated and you hear them talking more and more about Yoruba, about the Yoruba tribe, because there's so many of them that's over there in Brazil. So, you know, we're going to be celebrating the 3rd Yoruba Culture Celebration, May 15th and 16th in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta area. And we are inviting you out. I'm going to talk a little bit more a little later about it, but I just wanted to plug that in to make sure that you all are keying in on my Facebook page, all of my social media. You'll see me, not here, hopefully you can hear me, but you'll see me posting this flyer, inviting you to come out so you can hear and get a chance to meet people from the Yoruba tribe in the Owu Kingdom. So Yoruba is one of the largest African ethnic groups south of the Sahara Desert. All of us know about the Sahara Desert. We learned about it. predominantly located in southwestern Nigeria and constituting about 45 million people in the world. You heard me, 45 million people are able to link back to the Yoruba tribe. These people are prolific educators, sculptors, farmers, and social and political advocates who live around the world, including places like the Republic of Benin, Northern Togo, Brazil, Cuba, Portuguese countries, Canada, United Kingdom, the UK, Germany, Trinidad, Tobago, and the United States of America. So these are all the areas where the Yoruba people are found, and where there are 30 dialects of the Yoruba language. That's a lot of dialects. Many of whom of the Yoruba people were brought and stolen and transported, like you heard me say, during the transatlantic slave trade. And like I said, I mentioned earlier about Brazil. So let's, I want to dig into what are the values and morals that make up the Yoruba people. Well, in Yoruba land, and this is something I found very interesting, money has never been the foremost in Yoruba value system. When you talk about their moral and value system, money is not at the top. Now, y'all know here in America, they might say family, they'll say God. Then next is going to be probably money. And then they're going to say family, or they might say family. But money going to be part of the top three because you got to have that money here in America because we're in a capitalistic society. And money means a lot. Money people fall out. What's that song say? For the love of money? People do all kind of stuff to their brothers and sisters. People fall out about money, but not in the Yoruba land. So the first of the morals is the application of knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. They said you must use discernment and have knowledge and wisdom and understanding. That's the first value. And I've been practicing the words on how to pronounce it, but I won't mess it up, so I'm not going to say it. Okay, the second one is integrity. Someone with integrity is a man or woman of their words. That's the second value with the Yoruba in Yoruba land. If you have all the wealth in the world, but you lack integrity, you are not worth a thing. Integrity is combined with character. The third is valor or valor. That is why Balagans, which is second in command to the leaders in the Yoruba land, that's why they are called, they have their name. Balagans are people that can lead them to war. The Yoruba people have no respect for cowards. So if you're a coward, you know you didn't come from the Yoruba tribe. All right, the fourth one is having a visible means of livelihood. Being honest, y'all. A person must be identified with a visible means of livelihood that guarantees a lawful income or substance. His or her profession or job must be open and legally approved by society, and not through cheating or forcefulness. So it can't be no cheater over there. All right, the valor is V-A-L-O-U-R. That's what I was trying to say earlier. Okay, the fifth one, honor. Yoruba people place a premium on the gates with which individuals carry themselves and public reputation. You have to have honor. That is why Yoruba people usually say, when you set out to look for money and you meet honor on the way, then you don't need the journey anymore. Because if you get the money, you will still use it to buy honor. So you got to have honor. The last one, now we talk about money. The last in the Yoruba value system is, I'm gonna try this one, Owo, Tabu, Tabi, Oro. Money or wealth. If putting money ahead of the other five, then you're nobody in Yoruba land of the olden days. So money is the sixth, is ranked sixth when it comes down to the Yoruba land with morals and traditions. So as you know, this year we're going to be graced by the paramount ruler of the first kingdom of Yoruba, His Royal Majesty, Oba. Whenever you hear the word Oba, that means king. Also, another word that means king is cabiacy. So anytime you hear those between Oba or cabiacy, that means king. So His Royal Majesty Oba Professor Saka Adelola Matimilola, the Oluyalo Otileda the seventh, who was a member of Section 3 of the Otileda dynasty. And these are the descendants of one of the Owus, the kings that actually ruled from 1405 to 1437. So the reason I took the time to say that each king's appointment, anytime you're in the Yoruba land, is based on lineage. So it has to be someone that was your mother, grandfather, great-great-grandfather, someone along that lineage line in order to qualify you to be a king, according to the royal majesty. So it has to be a royal lineage in order for you to qualify to be king. So the Owu Kingdom is the ancient kingdom of the Yoruba tribe. So we talked about Yoruba, that's the head. So you kind of, how I explained it, to my dad. I said, you have a hand. So you have your hand. So you think of the hand as the Yoruba, And then each finger is a kingdom. So out of all the fingers, part of the Yoruba tribe, you have Owu, which is one of the kingdoms of the many other kingdoms of the Yoruba tribe. Or if you think of a tree, like with African Americans, we have our family reunions. So we always have the roots that go into the ground. And we used to have at the base of that tree, we used to have our grandparents or great-grandparents' name. And then all the branches spread out, and those are like our parents and all of that. So you think of it the same way. The root of the base of the tree is Yoruba. And then each branch is each kingdom that's a part of the Yoruba tribe. So all the kingdoms are still a part of Yoruba. So the one that the person who will actually be coming here to Georgia is of the Owu Kingdom of the Yoruba tribe. And that is the first ancient kingdom. So it's the first one to be established. Now, if you want no more information, you can go to the website, owukingdom.org, and I'll put it into the chat because I think it's important as we are learning about our African brothers and sisters, and more specifically when we're talking about the Yoruba tribe and Owu, that you learn about it. And Chief Emmanuel and he laughed at me a lot because he'll say, here in America, you all know about stories. Y'all always think about stories. So in this case, it's a story that I'm gonna tell you about, but it's a real life story. It's not just a fairy tale. So Oduduwa or Odua was the first ruler of a unified Ife kingdom and the acclaimed progenitor and patriarch of various independent royal dynasties in Yoruba land. So now I'm gonna give you a little history about Owu Kingdom and why is that the Owu Kingdom is the first ancient kingdom of the Yoruba tribe. So in today's venerated words, we hear the word hero, warrior and leader, and father of the Yoruba people is Oduduwa. So Obatala was the chief priest of Oduduwa, who was the originator. He was a chaste man who also traveled far and near in what became known as West Africa. He was a great man who later married Oduduwa's first daughter, Iyonade, by whom he got his first son, Ajibosan. So Oduduwa had his first daughter. The first daughter married Obatala, who was a priest of Oduduwa. And they had a son. They had the first son, which was Ajibosan. Okay, y'all remember Ajibosan. So one day when Ajibosan was playing in the lap of his grandfather, he was pulling on the beads of the crown. So the grandfather had his crown on, it had beads on it. And so Ajibosan, who's the grandson, was pulling on the crown repeatedly. The grandfather placed the crown on the child's head because the child would not stop pulling on that bead. But the child refused to give it up. So when the grandfather tried to get the crown back, Ajibosin didn't want to give it back. And so he cried, the baby cried uncontrollably when the crown was taken off his head. So eventually, Baba, which is the name in Yoruba land, means father, Baba Oduduwa, which is the grandfather, he gave up the further attempt at trying to get that crown back because that baby would not stop crying. The patriarch, which is Oduduwa, declared and decreed that Ajibosin should be allowed to retain the crown as his mother's inheritance. So in Yoruba land and also on the continent of Africa, inheritance means a lot. And that's something that we don't have here in America as African Americans. We don't have our inheritance because we lost our connection. Many of us lost our connection to our ancestors. And so, but inheritance means everything is very, very important. And so because Ajibosin did not want to give up that crown, that the grandfather, who was the originator of the Yoruba tribe, decided to let him keep the crown as his mother's inheritance. So as a representation of his mother's inheritance, he got a chance to keep that crown. And he automatically pronounced him king. Oduduwa automatically pronounced Ajibosin king, and the nickname which means one who cried to acquire the crown. So even in Yoruba land, many times those names that you hear them say, and to us they're very long names, but each name has a meaning. Most of the time, our names don't have a whole lot of meaning, except for something that we might come up with. But it's very rare that you have a name. Then we have a meaning that really is not as strong meaning as over in Africa. And many times, like if you say certain names to anybody that's of the Yoruba tribe, they can almost tell you what that name means. And I'm so amazed because they're able to, they hear a name, oh, that means that. I'm like, how you know that means that? They said, we just know. So Baba Oduduwa then called 6 of his trusted nobles to accompany the young king, who is Ajibosin, to his father. Remember, I told you his father's name was Obatala, to where Obatala was from, which was among the toughest in the Impi region near River Niger. So Obatala lived near the River Niger. So, and of course, that's when he traveled down and ended up marrying Ajibosin, his Ajibosin, his mother. Okay, so these 6 trusted nobles were charged to establish a kingdom for him, and this is for the grandson, and help him in the administration of the kingdom because he was a child, so he didn't know how to do it. And if you think about the comparison, if I use a biblical comparison, many times when kings were anointed and they were young kings and they weren't old enough, but because of their lineage, because of their father's lineage, they were pronounced kings. And because they would not have the wisdom, a lot of times they had to have the elders around them to teach them on what they need to be and do as a king. So it's similar when you kind of do a comparison to that. So these 6 noble trusted they made sure that he understood what his crown meant and his duty and how to establish this kingdom. Thus, the boy became the first to be crowned king amongst the offspring of Oduduwa, hence Owu ni Akoko Da. It's Owu kingdom that was first created. So that's how the Owu kingdom, remember I was talking about the 5 fingers? That's how the Owu kingdom was first created by its first king, which is Ajibosin. Ajibosin is the first king, okay? Who was the grandson of the first originator of the Yoruba tribe. So it would be therefore correct to say that Oluwu Ajibosin and his 6 companions formed the nucleus and the foundation of the Owu people all over the world. So the Owu people are not just in West Africa, in the Yoruba land, they're all over the world. And I got a chance to meet one of those from the Owu Kingdom, which is High Chief Emmanuel Adiemo. So that's so he got a chance. He told me about the story. I read, researched, looked it up. I've done all kind of stuff just so I can understand the story. Like you said, we just know stories here in America. So there are 6 trusted high chiefs and first-class counselors from the court of Oduduwa, the Yoruba patriarch and progenitor, who were chosen by him in faith to accompany his royal grandchild, Ajibosin. Excuse me, and upon the newly established crown, which was to translate to the crown of the Olowu, was entrusted. So the Olowu who's coming, who is the paramount ruler, he's the 14th in the lineage line of Owu or Olowus, which is the head person over that king. So he's the 14th one that's in the line from when it first originated from Ajibosun, who was a first Olowu. So I'm trying to make sure down. So when y'all come to the event, you'll know the historical background of why it's important for this third Yoruba celebration, culture celebration, to have grace among us. And you are on the fly, the king is coming. The king who was a part of the first kingdom of the Yoruba tribe in which we're celebrating is going to be coming to Georgia to meet and greet with us here in Georgia. And it's not just for African Americans, it's for anybody that want to know more and interested about African history. And you've never got a chance to meet a real king and not just the one you see on the movies, then you come out so you can be able to meet and watch and see all of the regalia that they have on. I have on my African attire. This is actually the one that I wore when I was a state representative, and we did the first Yoruba celebration down at the state capitol by recognizing the Yoruba tribe and all of the things that they have done here in Georgia. And so this is my attire that I wore, and so I thought it was only fitting to wear it again today as we're talking about the Yoruba tribe. And so I want you all to know, so when you see it, you can understand why did she invite him and not any of the other. There are a lot of other kings of the different kingdoms, but we wanted to invite the king that represents the first ancient kingdom, the start of the Yoruba tribe, which is Professor Oba, which is His Royal Majesty, Oba Professor Saka Matimola. Okay, and so as I move along, we almost up to the top of the hour, but I want to make sure I took this time to kind of explain to you all about it. So when you're going into, and then they also had what was called Iwarifas, and it was those were those 6 trusted chiefs, and they had a different name, and their character has tendered, means the character has tendered the heart of the oracle. So many of you all remember seeing the Lion King, not Lion King, but the Woman King, and many of y'all remember seeing Black Panther, and you wondering some of those rituals or things that they did, is that really real? Some of it was actually real. And even with the Woman King, you all remember the woman who was the Woman King going to talk with her friend who had to go and consult the oracle. And so all of that is what's practiced in the Yoruba land. And so you all know the Oyo Empire is a part of the Yoruba land. And so, so it's so much rich, deep history. I don't have time to go into it. And guess what? I'm not a scholar historian of the Yoruba history, so I'm not even going to attempt to try to tell you, explain. The only thing I know is what I was told, what I read, and confirmed to make sure that I was giving out as much information. So someone asked the question, what's the difference in the king and chief of a tribe? I'm going to attempt to tell you that. And like I said, I'm still in the learning phase, but you have a hierarchy, just like we have, if you think about the president of the United States, is the person at the very top. And then up under the president, you have the vice president. And then you have, of course, the Congress. And then it goes down. So it's the same kind of hierarchy. And even if you think of Britain and Queen Elizabeth in England, how they have hierarchies, but I'm gonna stick with kind of comparing it to here in America a little bit. So the king is the very top when it comes to tradition. So they still have a government that's a democracy type of government, similar to what we have here in America. And I'm speaking about in Nigeria and in Yoruba land. But when it comes to traditional issues, then they have to go to the traditional kings who are appointed according to their lineage, which is what I talked about earlier. So you have the king that's at the top, that's number one. And then you have his royal majesty. So you have the paramount rulers, which are at the very, very top. And then you have other kings that are like second class kings that are right up under. And then you have chiefs, and then it goes down and you have other titles that kind of go all the way down to the bottom. So, and so when it comes down to decision making, and like when we're going to be talking about the roundtable discussion, the business roundtable discussion that we'll be doing on the 16th, and talk about those opportunities that are available in Yoruba land, specifically in Owu Kingdom. When it comes down to land, that discussion has to come from the king and whoever is the king over that particular region and jurisdiction. So, so it's a lot. Like I said, it's an institution, and there's no way I'm going to learn all of that in probably my lifetime. But I just wanted to make sure I explained that. So there are different levels. And so one of the things I wanted also to run by you all are the 8 unique characteristics of the Owu people. Now remember, we talk about the Yoruba tribe, and the Owu kingdom is the first ancient tribe, first ancient kingdom of the Yoruba tribe. I know it's a lot, y'all. Okay, so these are the 8 unique characteristics that you will find in people that you meet from the Owu kingdom. They're strong-mindedness, but not hard-hardened. They don't have a hard heart, but they're very strong-minded. Very stubborn, on a good way. Can hardly be defeated because it's a testimony of their faith and uprightness. They cannot deny their bravery. It doesn't mean that they have a bad behavior, but they cannot ever deny, you won't find them denying that they are brave. They don't initiate insults, so they don't talk rudely to you. They're not the first ones that started off with insults. They are no nonsense. They have a no nonsense disposition about themselves. They don't take a lot of nonsense. Very high in charitable events and compassion. You will find a lot of them doing very charitable things and have a lot of compassion for the people. And they are not easy to appease when they're provoked to anger. So when they become angry, you can't calm them down and say, oh, we want you to do this and that. So no, that's not this. So those are 8 unique characteristics of Owu people. And also when they're very young, every Owu girl or boy are not allowed to be raised by others who are not their parents, because the characteristics must be instilled in them. The mother teaches them the principles of Owu. They don't have any blood testing to verify whether it's part of their DNA or not. Like we have to do here, it's just those characteristics that are taught. And like I said earlier on in the program, at an early age, and it becomes a part of them. And you don't find a lot of them here in Georgia. And and they don't like other cultures to infiltrate with them. That's why they are reserved. Most of them are very reserved. And you are judged by your character to confirm which kingdom you're a part of. So when they're looking at your character, it's almost like, you know, when we were little, and I know my mom used to always say, don't you go out there and embarrass me. My mom and dad would say, don't embarrass me, because guess what? They're gonna tie your behavior back to who your people are. I know my grandmother used to always say, when we would bring people over to my grandparents' house, my grandmother Kate would always say, who are they people? Who are they people? And we used to always say, Grandma, why you need to know who they people are? Tell me what family they're from. And that's how they judge a character, based on what family, your family name, and what you were from. So those are things that, you know, when you think about it, that actually came from our African ancestors. It's judging of character based on who you are as your family. And so so that's what I said, you judge by your character to confirm which kingdom you are a part of. The Owu celebrate many festivals. The main one is the Owu annual festival, which is observed after the harvesting season, which translates to the end of September or early October each year. By keen observation, it is reckoned that the year's yam harvest would still be available in the barns, in the farms, in the barns that are on the farms, and yam being a major item in the menu for the festival. There's so much more to this rich history. It's not just a story or a fairy tale, like I said before. And I'm so grateful that I was blessed to get to know so many Africans who have changed my negative perception of them, because many of us African Americans have negative perceptions. We do. I had them. But only by communication. And that's one of the things when I first thought about having an annual event, a celebration, it was to be able to demystify all of those things, negative things that African Americans have about towards Africans, and in this case, specifically with the Yoruba tribe. And so on the way we're able to demystify and work together, we have to communicate, and we have to understand and respect each other's culture. So yes, there are things that I might not agree with when it comes to the Yoruba culture and what they practice, but that's their culture. And I have to respect it. Just like there are some things that they don't necessarily probably agree with us here in African America, but we really don't have no culture, but what we practice here, but it has to be respected. And I think once we learn how to start respecting each other's culture or values or what they believe in, we don't have to agree with it, but respect them. I think that starts the journey of a long conversation in a way that we could be able to work together to uphold and support and strengthen not only our families here in Africa, in America, but also our families back on the continent of Africa, in the Yoruba land. And that's what I want to see. That's the purpose of the event for these 2 days, May 15th through the 16th. And I definitely invite you to come out and join us. It's open, it's free. You know, we like that, like Dr. Poindexter, I would say, free to the free. Yep, I used her terminology. She always says that, those words. We will welcome our guests at the Georgia State Capitol. I'm gonna run down some things. I'm going to give you a website to visit, and I'll put it into the chat so that you can go on and see what things we're going to be doing, when you want to come and participate with us, and make sure you let me know when you're there. Say, hey, listen, I heard about it on your show, and I'm here. I'm excited about the opportunity. Bring your children. You know, this might be a once in a lifetime chance that they get a chance to meet kings, especially the paramount ruler of an ancient kingdom that's coming here to Georgia. That's not where you're able to see that all the time. So we're going to be at the state capitol where we acknowledge, definitely welcome them and acknowledge them, because that's where it started from. When I was a former representative, was the state capitol. At that time, I would actually be receiving an honorary chief title that will be bestowed on me by one of the kings. And the title is Yeye Meto of Papalanto in Ogun State, Nigeria. So this is not a chief title for over here in America. It's a chief title over in my ancestors' land. And you may wonder, what in the world does Yeye Mito means? Because I want to know. And it means one who knows the truth, one who knows the way, and one who don't take no mess. I ain't gonna say the other word, but don't take no mess. And so I'm excited because that's something that I've never witnessed before, an actual person being given a chief title. So you all are welcome to come down to the Capitol to witness that. We'll also be visiting a local school whose foundation of that school was created on African principles. So they'll get a chance to interact with the king and other international guests that we have. And that evening, we'll also have on that Monday evening, we're going to have a lecture series whereby His Royal Majesty will enlighten us on the Yoruba tribe and the transatlantic slave trade. Thank you, Poindexter. Thank you. And thank you, Penny, as well. We will culminate it with a business roundtable on that Tuesday. And talking about what opportunities are available economically, because we want to be able to connect with our with Yoruba land, and more specifically starting out with Owu Kingdom. And how do we connect? By understanding, knowing what's going on over there. You know, a lot of times we hear being fearful about traveling over there. You hear all kind of things. Well, you'll be able to hear, hey, if you decide you want to come and invest and be a part of the Yoruba land over in the Owu Kingdom, then there's protection. You don't have to worry about a whole lot of stuff that if you just traveling over there on your own, you may have to worry about, because they want to make sure you're welcome and a part. The continent of Africa is huge, and it's a time to reconnect with our ancestors. Yes, they too have a point of no return. Y'all probably know that. You know, we always hear about Ghana, and a lot of people want to go to Ghana, but Ghana's not the only place on the continent of Africa that are welcoming, and they say, come back home, come back home. But in Lagos State, which is part of Yoruba land, they have a point of no return as well, an actual location. It's called Badagry. And they have relics and everything there showing you what happened when the slaves were brought there, what items were actually used as monetary compensation, you know, because you always got to trade, some kind of trade system when it comes down to exchanging of goods. Somebody got to get something in exchange for something else. The unfortunate part is that those goods end up being human capital, not actual animals or products, but human capital that was exchanged for things like an umbrella, for guns. I mean, it's so much. So as we continue to explore Yoruba land, we're going to definitely be traveling over there, and you're welcome to join us as we go and travel as being tourists and actually taking in what's over there to offer. So Ghana's not the only place. South Africa's not the only place. Though now there are some wonderful places. But today we're talking about Yoruba land. So much history, so much culture. So what time is? I don't have a few time left. Y'all know I have to do my say what? Yes, but of course the say what has to do with Yoruba land. All right. Every day there's situations that's happening all around us that make us want to say, what in the what? So did you know the coast along South Carolina and Georgia received a very large number of Yorubas who were actually taken there due to the Yorubas having a very unique skill trade in cotton and growing rice. So y'all hear Gullah Geechee? More than likely the Gullah Geechee were from the Yoruba tribe because of that special skill. Most of them, because of the special skill with growing that rice and of that cotton. Not too long ago, I got a chance to go to South Carolina to one of the plantations there, one of the largest plantations called McLeod Plantation. McLeod Plantation. And as I was visiting, one of the things that they talked about was that how much money, millions of dollars were made back then from the cotton that was grown. That particular plantation and some of the others were able to grow almost, I think they said 10 feet of cotton was being grown. And it wasn't because they knew what to do. It was the slaves that they brought over that used the same unique ingredients, and they knew how to mix it up with the sand in some kind of way, because how they mixed it, it caused the cotton to grow larger than any other places where cotton was grown. So they made big mega bucks, money, big millions of dollars. You know, we think millions of dollars is huge now. Just think back in the 1800s, how much money millions of dollars were that was made. So, you know, we're not going to talk about reparations. We're not talking about that with this show, but they made a lot of money, and that money was passed down to their generations, to their generations, to their generations, that they're now still benefiting off of the slaves that came over that was skilled in cotton and rice. So that's the first say what. Okay. My next say what. Did you know the last known slave ship was found in Mobile, Alabama, named Clotilda, where people from the Yoruba tribe, yes, they established a settlement called Africa Town. And that's there now. According to the National Archives Museum, 50 years after the Atlantic slave trade was outlawed, the Clotilda became the last ship to bring enslaved 110 enslaved Africans to the United States. The ship was scuttled and burned on arrival to hide the evidence of the crime. Ain't that something? You know you were wrong bringing those slaves over here. And then they weren't on no big ship. They was in a schooner, which is a smaller size ship. You brought them over here and then you burned it and tried to cover it up to hide the crime of you bringing those slaves over here, allowing the wealthy perpetrators to escape prosecution, so they didn't get prosecuted. Despite numerous efforts to find the sunken wreck, Clotilda remained hidden for the next 160 years, y'all. It couldn't be found. They looked for it, but it couldn't be found. 160 years later, you know the people ain't alive. They dead. The perpetrators. Say what? Yes, say what? So that means that you can hide, but you can't hide. It ain't always gonna be hidden. So what you done that's done in the dark come to light. It might take a long time, but that light is gonna shine. And so in 2019, the author Ben Raines, R-A-I-N-E-S, successfully concluded his obsessive quest through the swamps of Alabama to uncover this important historical artifact. So thanks and a shout out to Ben Raines for discovering this. His book is called The Last Slave Ship. So you all Google that, The Last Slave Ship by Ben Raines, and read about Africa Town, how it came about from the Clotilda, which was a slave ship that wasn't supposed to be operating, and took 110 Yorubas from Yoruba land and brought them over here to Mobile, Alabama. So as we close out, we only have 1 minute left. Thank you all so very much for your attention and listening to me talk about Yoruba land, Yoruba, the Owu Kingdom. And I definitely invite you all to come out. I'm going to put the link in the in our comment section for you all to go online and make sure that you register to be able to come out, and you can be able to find out more detailed information about the upcoming Yoruba celebration, the third one. We've done others where we actually had to do them online, but now we're able to do something in person. And we want to be able to make sure that you all know about the history of the Yoruba people, which is a great tribe, one of the largest tribes in Africa that has spread out everywhere. So if you look in the comment section, I put the link there for you all to go on there and see about it. And this will be the first time that His Royal Majesty has visited Georgia and visited the United States. And we know it's not going to be his last time he got to come. He has to come back. I want to also say congrats to all the graduates who, whether you elementary, middle, high school, or college, you made that accomplishment. You ought to be celebrated. each of you and your family. So congratulations to all the graduates who will be graduating in May this month, and wishing you the best in whatever your future endeavors are. Of course, the time has caught us. All good things must come to an end. This is not our season finale, because we're going to have another show on May the 15th, which is the date of the event. We will be back after May the 15th show in October to start our next season. The goal of Issues and Answers with Honorable, yours truly, Honorable Stovall, is to educate you on those things you might not think about unless you are in a situation to be concerned. If you have any show ideas, definitely send them to me. And I did want to give a shout out to some of our state representatives and senators for their support of this event. State Representative Shegun Adeyina, Representative Phil Olalaye, Senator Donzella James, also to Regina Breed Consulting, and to Metro Atlanta Ministerial Alliance for their support, with Pastor Elligan and Pastor Eric Thomas, to Only Papa of Papalanto, King Gmo. He'll be coming too, and I've had several conversations with King Gmo. He's over in Owu land, but he'll be coming in, and I just want to thank you so much for taking time to talk to me, explain questions I had. I actually took time to film live streaming of the Iroko tree, which is a very popular tree over in Yoruba land, and the amazement of that tree. But they actually let me see the ceremony. So I'm just so thankful and grateful for the people I met that God has allowed to cross my path. Thank you all, and we will see you all on the 15th. You better be there. You're going to miss out. You're going to see all our pictures and me wishing that you were there. But you all have a blessed evening. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Odabo, that means bye-bye in Yoruba. Odabo.